Gabriella Nalvin has written a delightful children's book entitled Athena, The Adventures of a Fearless Dragon. This is a heartwarming story about a little dragon born with her two back feet missing. And during her journey across the country, searching for a new home, she and her brothers learn to work together to survive while strengthening their sibling bond. Athena, The Adventures of a Fearless Dragon is now available on digital platforms. Greetings to those of you who are listening and are viewing from around the world. Welcome to my journey with Paula G, where we are juggling this journey called life while we're walking in the gifts and the talents that God has given us. I am so appreciative, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, to those of you who tune in each and every week, and to those of you who are viewing for the first time. Thank you so much for embracing this journey. I always say, because it is so true, and I'm going to keep on saying it, that time is precious. It is the one thing that you and I cannot get back. So for you to think it not robbery to spend this time with us, to choose to spend this time with us when you have so many choices, I am truly, truly appreciative. So I thank each and every one of you so very much for embracing the journey. I also have to give a shout out and thank those who have chosen to embrace the journey through their underwriting support. Yes, our underwriters. Without our underwriters, we would not be able to have this platform to bring you this programming. So we truly appreciate the support of our underwriters. And if you have a business, a product, or service that you would like to gain more exposure for, you want to give us a shout out. Paula G Voice at gmail.com or Paula at Paula G Voice. That's at gmail.com. That's my other email. Paula at paulagvoice.com or jerryvoicelive at gmail.com. Jerryvoicelive at gmail.com or Paula at paulagvoice.com. Put underwriting opportunities in the subject line, and we will be sure to follow with you on how you too can embrace the journey through your underwriting support. I also encourage you to stay connected with me, like, share, subscribe. Stay connected through all social media platforms. I believe in making things easy. Paula G Voice, all one word. Paula G Voice across all social media platforms, as well as my website, paulagvoice.com, where you can find my past radio shows, episodes, my current television shows. Make sure you check out the weekend channel, where we house a playlist of not only my journey with Paula G, but a variety of programming on the Positive Power platform. And shouts out to Jerry Voice Live, the visionary Positive Power 21, and my journey with Paula G. So be sure to check us out there. Also, my book is available on my website, along with other items and merchandise and so forth that you can connect with. I also have a blog where there's some encouraging words for you, some inspiring words for you as well. So I hope you will continue to join me via social media or my blog as well. Well, today I have a topic that I want to discuss with you. And I had mentioned it in one of the previous episodes because at the time that I was having that particular discussion, there was a thunderstorm. So some of you may have been kind of hearing the thunder rolling. And I had to stay, it was funny because the topic was focused, yet I got distracted by the thunderstorm. And I said, oh, maybe I should switch up and talk about this topic that I'm talking about today. But I said, no, I've got to stay focused. I've got to set the example for the topic of that particular show. So thank you, God, for that lesson. Thank you for helping me to stay focused. But what I want to talk to you today is about not stopping in the middle of the storm. I have a wonderful friend, poet laureate Hank Stewart, who wrote this poem some years ago, Never Stop in the Middle of the Storm. And it spoke to him being on this journey and this storm coming up, a severe thunderstorm, and how cars along the road were stopping and pulling over, but how he slowed his speed down. And even in the midst of the thunderstorm and the sheets of rain that are coming down on the windshield and the hail, he never stopped. He just kept, he might have gone down to maybe 5 miles an hour, but he just never stopped. And that resonated with me because years later, I had a similar experience. A friend and I had gone to Miami. We had never been to Miami before. She was a high school friend, and we both needed to get away. So we went to Miami. And we were out on the beach one day. It was a beautiful, oh my gosh, it was gorgeous. Wasn't a cloud in the sky. And we were kind of out in the water and we were talking and splashing around a bit. And I happened to turn around back towards the shore, and far in the distance, the sky was dark. And I said, a storm is approaching. We probably need to get in to go back to our room. And it was getting a little windy, but it was still beautiful right where we all were. It was still beautiful. The sun was shining, it was warm, it was a little windy, but it was absolutely beautiful. So we got out of the water, we gathered our things, we went back up to our room, which was like on the 15th floor, something like that. And it took us, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes or so. By the time we got back up to our room, that storm that was way off in the distance was right, it felt like it was right on top of the hotel. And because we were so high up, it was like that part of the hotel was in the clouds. So the hail was hitting the windows, and it felt like it felt like the building was swaying because the storm was so severe. It was thunder, it was lightning, it was loud, and you could hear people kind of being concerned and screaming. And we were like, do we run downstairs? Do we stay up here? Is the building going to topple over? Is it a tornado? All of these thoughts. And in the back of my mind, I remembered, okay, this is the same storm that was miles away, or it appeared to be miles away, and it moved closer and closer and closer to us, to where the storm was right on top of us. And I said, this storm kept moving. It kept moving until it got to us, and it is now right on top of us. And if we're just still, if we just stay calm and weather the storm, as they say, this too shall pass. Not trying to sound like a cliche, but y'all with me. This too shall pass. And sure enough, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or so later, that same storm had gone out to sea. The ocean was the waves were huge. The surfers, were having a field day, even though they probably had no business being out there, but they were having a field day. But as the storm went further out to sea, it became calm again. And that spoke volumes to me. Thinking back to my friend's poem, thinking back to the moment when the storm was way off in the distance, and how it traveled. The storms coming closer and closer and closer, how it was right on top of us, how it was such turbulence and noise, and the lightning and the thunder and the hail and the sheets of rain and the fog and the clouds and all of that stuff blowing around. And then how it slowly went back out to sea. And I began to think about that thing. How in life, look at the amount of storms that we have in life. And some of our storms of life, they will last a minute, meaning they will last a long time. They will last a long time, some of those storms. And, I kind of started thinking about that, and how we sometimes get stuck in the storms of life. We get stuck where we get so distracted by the storm that is set before us, that we get so consumed by the storm that we don't think about life on the other side of that there's life on the other side of the storm in life that we're going through. And we're going to take a break. And when we come back, I want to talk a bit about not stopping in the midst of a storm, enduring the storm, life on the other side of the storm, and a scripture that resonated with me that is related to this. So after these messages, we'll be back in a moment.
If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he, yes he. Oh my goodness, yes he did. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, my goodness, yes he did. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he.
Are you saying Jesus changed you?
Yes he did. Don't get upset, I'ma take you back. You can go with me, you can check facts. You can ask family, you can ask all them dudes that was with me, said they had my back. You can ask hood dudes living on the street. Them same dudes you can see me on E. Man, that boy then changed, got touched by the man upstairs. Man, that's so rare. I didn't do it cause I wanted to. God called me, I heard him do. All the other voices were destructive. God gave me good news. He said that he would change me if I gave up, surrendered it. Did it, took a minute. Testimony, show and live it. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he, yes he. Oh my goodness, yes he did. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he.
Are you saying Jesus changed you?
Oh yes he did. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he, yes he. Oh my goodness, yes he did. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he.
Are you saying Jesus changed you?
Oh yes he did. Got caught up, that's true story. Grew up in church, that's true story. Saved as a young boy, that's true story. Didn't mean nothing, man, that's true story. I'ma tell this truth in the midst of my story. Yeah, I got proof, the results on more. This thing real, can't come back on the peel. He turned up on the grill, this he hot. Lake fire burn, don't stop. Think about it, giving me chills. I don't wanna go there, ask for a change. Took me back when I first got saved. Gave it up, man, I just got played. When I walked out, man, I should've just stayed. That was easy, should've just prayed. I know that now, I got some age, slow this down.
Holy Ghost,
High on Jesus,
overdose.
wanna know how.
Take some notes.
Here's the first thing,
You should know.
just repent,
Ask forgiveness
then be baptized.
in his name.
You will come up,
Not the same.
speak in tongues.
Now you're saved.
I didn't do it cause I wanted to. God called me, I heard him do. All the other voices were destructive. God gave me good news. He said that he would change me if I gave up, surrendered it. Did it, took a minute. Testimony, show and live it. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he, yes he. Oh my goodness, yes he did. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he.
Are you saying Jesus changed you?
Oh yes he did. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he, yes he. Oh my goodness, yes he did. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he.
Are you saying Jesus changed you?
Yes he did.
Jesus changed my life, that's why I give him praise. I was raised in the church, but a brother went astray. I was out there doing bad, but I never lost my faith. Had my daughter 25, so I had to change my pace. It was time to change for him. He had mercy on my sins. I could have died in them streets, then I would have went to hell. Jesus truly changed my heart, plus he loved me from the start. He can change your heart too, even when it falls apart. Never giving up on him, cause we're all born in sin. But he died on this cross, his blood covers all our sins. And he changed my heart like a G. I know you ain't messing with me. His love is so real, no, this ain't no casualty. Right.
I didn't do it cause I wanted to. God called me, I heard him do. All the other voices were destructive. God gave me good news. He said that he would change me if I gave up, surrendered it. Did it, took a minute. Testimony, show and live it. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he, yes he. Oh my goodness, yes he did. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he.
Are you saying Jesus changed you?
Oh yes he did. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he, yes he. Oh my goodness, yes he did. If you ask me if he changed me, yes he, yes he, yes he.
Are you saying Jesus changed you?
Oh yes he did.
Welcome back to My Journey with Paula G, where we are juggling this journey called life while we're walking in the gifts and talents that God has given us. And before the break, we were talking about never stopping in the middle of the storm and what that looks like, and how sometimes we can get distracted by the storm. Sometimes we have these monumental things that happen in our lives, and we get so distracted by those monumental things that we oftentimes get discouraged. We get so caught up sometimes in those monumental things, and we get discouraged, and sometimes we just stop of the storm. Sometimes we stop and we get paralyzed, by these storms. And it reminded me of during, this season that we're in, we're on the other side still navigating this pandemic, and how in the midst of the pandemic there were so many people that were in such despair and made decisions based on the this despair that they were in the midst of the pandemic. Now that we're on the somewhat on the other side of it, some of those people are now having to deal with some of those decisions they made over a temporary situation. I used to encourage my students when I was a school counselor, and I would have students that express what we call suicidal ideation, and meaning they expressed that they wanted to do harm to themselves. And I would always share with them that that is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Now, a temporary problem could last a week, a month, a year, 3 years, but yet and still, if we keep on living and breathing, we can always get on the other side of the storms in our lives. We can always get on the other side of these turbulent situations. But we have to keep navigating through. We have to keep our focus on what lies ahead and not what we are currently in the midst of, especially if it's a negative situation. And it reminded me of Jeremiah 29:11, and that's a familiar verse to a lot of us. I know the plans that God has for us, plans to prosper us, plans to not give to harm us. And I remember in the midst of the pandemic, someone being very discouraged. Well, I've read Jeremiah 29:11. Where is my where's the prosperity? How is God helping me in this? We're in the midst of this situation. I don't see Jeremiah 29:11 on the horizon. And it prompted me to go back and read verses 1 through 10. Man, when I tell you that was an eye opener, that was an eye opener because, like other people, myself, you just focus on these one verses. And sometimes we fail to enlighten ourselves with the backstory. So as I was reading through verses 1 through 10, the verse that resonated with me was I think it was around the fourth verse, where the people were told, yes, you are in the midst of captivity. You are in the midst of despair. You are in the midst of what seems an impossible situation. But I have plans for you on the other side. So in the meantime, I want you to continue to live. Continue to grow your businesses if you can, to grow your families, to prosper to the best of your ability, to work on your skills to the best of your ability, because I have plans for you on the other side. And a lot of times, that storm, there are lessons that we learn in that storm. There are lessons that we learn that help us to move forward in our lives, to help us to grow, to help us to be stronger on the other side. There are lessons that we learn that help us through our next storm in life. So, a little bit about the lessons that are learned on the Jeremiah journey, because the Jeremiah journey is real. We all engage in a Jeremiah journey. When you find yourself in the midst of the storm, ask yourself, what is in my best interest in this moment? What is I am in the mid, like when we were in that storm at the hotel, I had to ask myself, what is in my best interest? Panicking and having an anxiety attack is not in my best interest at the moment. What is in my best interest at that moment? And at that moment, my best interest was to stay calm and to remember that this is the same storm that was off in the distance. It was a thunderstorm. It was a severe thunderstorm. It wasn't a hurricane or tornado. That's a whole different topic. It was a severe thunderstorm, so there was no need to evacuate. But the sound effects, the visuals at the time caused me to be distracted to where I panicked momentarily until I had to ask myself, what is in the best interest? This is a severe thunderstorm. It's out in the distance. It's upon us. It's going to keep moving. So What is in my best interest is to focus on staying calm and understanding and realizing and knowing that this storm will pass. And while I'm waiting for it to pass, I'm going to remain calm. I can't remember exactly what I did. I don't know if my friend and I just started talking or we turned on the television or music or something, but we did something to distract ourselves in that particular moment. So ask yourself, what is in my best interest in this moment to help me endure this storm? Prayer. Sometimes praying through some of those moments is so powerful and so helpful. Sometimes writing down, reminding yourself of the goal is out there. There's life on the other side of this storm, and begin to maybe write some things that you will do or desire to do, or that you're learning through the storm that will help you on the other side. What is in my best interest? Taking some small steps. If your storm is something that's lasting, weeks or months, taking small steps every day, small steps that help you navigate the moment as well as the moment beyond and the moments to come when the storm passes. Setting goals for yourself. Today, I'm going to remain calm. I'm not going to focus on my current situation. I'm going to focus on the positive. I'm going to focus on what I'm gaining from this. And I know that at times it may seem you might have a hard time, Paula, I can't think of anything. There's nothing good about the situation. Did you wake up that morning? Are you living and breathing? That's a good thing. Yes, it might be a difficult situation, but you woke up in your right mind, as they say. You're living and you're breathing, and you have the ability to keep putting one foot in front of the other, taking one step at a time, one day at a time. That's a positive in that particular situation. Sometimes we have to learn how we can coexist with a particular storm. And sometimes we have to coexist with those storms temporarily in order to get through the storm. What can I do to coexist that's not detrimental to my well-being? If you were going through a divorce, and trust and believe me, that is a difficult situation. So many of us go through. How can I coexist with the pain? It's going to come, and you've got to deal with it. Can I write about it every day? Are you creative? Are you artistic? Can you create some artwork to help express your feelings, or a song? Is there a book you can read? Are there mantras that you can come up with for yourself? That today, even though I'm in the midst of this storm and the pain of divorce, I know and trust and believe that life is on the other side. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And even though it seems at the moment that there's not life on the other side, I'm trusting and believing, because I serve a mighty God, that there is life on the other side, and He will reveal to me what it is that life will look like for me. He will help me to unlock this negative mindset and create a new narrative. So when I do get on the other side of verses 1 through 10 in Jeremiah 29, that I can embrace verse 11. For I know the plans that God has for me, plans to prosper, plans not to harm me. Never stop in the middle of the storm. I hope that helped you today. We have come to the end of today's journey. Thank you all so much for joining us. We thank our underwriters for their underwriting support. And remember, if you have a business, product, or service that you are engaging in, reach out to us, jerryvoicelive@gmail.com or paula@paulagvoice.com, underwriting opportunities in the subject line. Make sure you stay connected, like, share, subscribe, Paula G Voice across all social media platforms, and my website, paulagvoice.com. Until next time, remember, the greatest conversation you will ever have is the one that takes place in between your ears. What are you speaking to yourself? Is God a part of that conversation? And are you listening to His still small voice? Until next time, embrace the journey. Hey family, this is Paula G, host of My Journey with Paula G. And I always get asked the same questions. How did you get started in radio? I want to start my own podcast, but I don't know how. Or, Paula, I'm going to be a guest on a radio show and I'm not quite sure what to say or how to brand myself. And then I get asked questions about how did you transform your life from who you were to who you are today? Well, I have put the answers to those questions in courses. The Mindset Journey course, how to start your own podcast, and how to be a great radio or television show guest. So I invite you to visit my website at paulagvoice.com and engage in one of the courses that are of interest or need to you. I'm a person that I like to hear what the problem is that someone has and be able to solve the problem. And within the gifts and talents that I have, that God has given me, I want to share with you some tips on how to be a great radio or television show guest, how to start your own podcast, and unlocking the negative mindset and creating a new narrative. Visit my website at paulagvoice.com, enroll in one of the courses, and embrace the journey. And also, if you'd like to reach out to me, if you have any questions, Paula at paulagvoice.com. And remember, the greatest conversation you will ever have is the one that takes place in between your ears. What are you speaking to yourself? Is God a part of that conversation? And are you listening to his still small voice? Until next time, embrace the journey.